Sack Life! Beat Depression. It's day 810, and we're back again with another somatic healing session to wipe out depression. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here now. Anyone who's tuning in later, appreciate you guys and girls out there. As you know, it's a martial arts for mental health show, and we like to focus in on those mental health tools first. First and foremost, I want to shout out gratitude to everybody who's been supporting the cause. Shout out to Missy Chaffo for being the first one in today. I also want to shout out specific gratitude to Lisa the Luminary. I see you. The Rock out there, staying consistent every single day. Appreciate you, Lisa. Thank you for being here. Part of my gratitude section as well. And I want to shout out gratitude to Greg Wooten, two-time Muay Thai world champ out there in California, who lent me his time, his skills, his expertise to give me a little bit of training while I was there briefly with him. I learned so much in such a short amount of time, and I can still hear his voice in my head when I'm training now, telling me to turn my hip over. And we're going to practice some of that hip turn stuff and a little technique that he showed me. A lot of other martial artists use this too to open up that hip and get that rotation down so they can really improve those roundhouse kicks. So we're going to be using that technique today. Stay tuned for that. Also want to shout out gratitude to I Am Carlson, to Chris Casamasa, to Nina Carita out there. Nina. Amazing. Check her out. She's doing awesome things. Nina also uses the hip rotation technique that I'm going to share with you today as well for roundhouse kicks. And they are all part of my gratitude section today. Everybody who's been supporting the cause, all the martial artists out there who've been sharing their platform, helping me empower others, helping us grow together and work forwards every single day and get through things we're dealing with in normal life by taking care of our physical health, taking care of our mental health in this brief time that we're together. Also, shout out to everybody in now. Shawnee Boy 98, I see you. And Ken, Slayer Ken, thank you for being here as well. Checking in on comments. Sean said, got told by his new coach that he hits too hard. Yeah, take that thing down, man. I mean, it's good and it's bad. Sparring, we want to grow together. We want to learn from each other. So we don't want to knock out our coaches or knock out our friends. Ideally, save that stuff for competition. But it's good to know you've got the power if you need it, right? And he's saying 2 hours of training, but my leg kick was too powerful for sparring. Yeah. That's what I feel you, dude. My leg kicks I've been picking up in power too. People are telling me I'm injuring them. I'm not trying to injure them. So with great power comes great responsibility, right? You got to take control. Can't keep that thing under control out there. Also, shout out to Angeline. Angeline, thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Thank you for your support and being an awesome, radiant, positive person out there, putting joy out into the world just by being yourself. Thank you. And to Ken for sharing his progress. Before we get into that, think about the things that you're grateful for today that'll help put you in that positive mindset before we move into the lesson. And then, second mental health tool we're going to talk about, very powerful one, is progress tracking. Keeping track of the number of days you accomplish your daily goal. And you can make that daily goal training, a training goal for 1 minute, for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes. When I was dealing with clinical depression, and I just started, I bought a punching bag for myself. I started training with it on and off. And I found that too much, too intense training. I'm injuring myself. I'm hurting my body. I'm breaking myself down. And too little, there really was no too little to start. Every single step forward counts. So we want to count every step forward. So I gave myself an accomplishable goal of 5 to 10 minutes. And that's what this class is still based around. That core training routine of 5 to 10 minutes of progress every single day. We could fit it in anywhere in a busy routine. I was working a job, dealing with a business, partying every night, working overtime, and still able to get 5 to 10 minutes of training in there for myself. Because I recognized that it was my self-care, and it was helping me improve my life, improve my mindset, improve myself physically and mentally. And by keeping track of that progress, it's been 810 days since I've had a single thought of suicidal ideation. It's been 810 days since I've been debilitated by depression, which is something that I was dealing with before I had this tool and before I had these tools available to me. I was dealing with increasing suicidal ideation and days where I couldn't get out of bed. I felt like physically it was too heavy to move my body, and my brain was giving me all kinds of lies. So if you want to defeat those lies, overcome that victim mindset, and show yourself what you're really capable of and what you can look forward to doing for yourself every single day, start keeping track of that daily accomplishable goal and start small. Like I said, 5 to 10 minutes is where I start. Some days I do 2 hours. Some days I do 3 hours. Got to tune into yourself, see where you're at, give yourself that challenge, and keep moving forwards. But progress tracking tool, super important. And if you're making progress out there, please do share it with others. It's a great way to inspire and motivate others to take care of themselves as well. Speaking of which, let's check in on comments, because I know Slayer Ken shared his days. There it is. 418 days of consecutive progress for Slayer Ken. Crushing those goals out there. Proud of you, dude. Proud of you moving forward. Thank you for being here, sharing that progress, inspiring me to keep going, and I appreciate your energy. Shawnee Boy said, my coach looks like you. Tattoos everywhere, big long beard. I don't know. We all have doppelgangers out there somewhere. Shout out, Sack Life, to Master Checo for tuning in. Appreciate your support as well. Master Checo's been doing a great job advocating, sharing tools, spreading the word out there, helping empower others as well. And I want to thank you. You're part of my gratitude section as well. So we talked about progress tracking, talked about the gratitude section. Now let's talk about that hip rotation drill that I was mentioning earlier. Something that the two-time world champ, Wooten, shared with me, and also Nina Carita's using out there and sharing it with the public. A really good way to improve those roundhouse kicks and really get that hip rotation down is to use an object. Now, today I'm going to use Bob because he's got at least 2 levels. He's got this real low level. You can start here. It's going to be nice and easy. And then as you get more advanced, you can put your leg up on his shoulder. This is Bob at his lowest setting. You'll notice his head height is much shorter than me. So simulating fighting with a child or someone much shorter than me. I'm pretty short out here at 5'9". I think it's average height. But, whatever. Most people I'm meeting are about head level, about eye to eye, or a little bit taller. So I'm practicing today for shorter opponents. And as you get more hip mobility and more flexibility, you can move Bob up. He's got like 7 or I can't remember. He's got a lot of adjustment here. You can make him pretty tall so your kicks are going straight up in the air. So let's talk about that mobility drill before we get into roundhouse kicks. Once we do the drill, we are going to practice those roundhouse kicks just a little bit, turning around, pivoting on that lead foot, and switching to the opposite stance, tossing the roundhouse through there as well. And we'll use the teep kick a little bit, and we'll throw some fundamentals in there in case you don't have the flexibility for those leg kicks. We'll still find a way to improve our situation and fight forwards. Checo said bonus round later. Heck yeah, of course. Gonna get my bonus round in. Today is a high intensity day, so if this is all you're doing, make sure you're giving yourself a challenge, you're pushing to your level, and that way you can continue to grow. There's no growth in the comfort zone, so we gotta keep challenging ourselves so we can keep moving forwards. That being said, keeping the focus on mental health, we want to avoid overreaching or overdoing it. Signs of this will be nauseousness in the stomach, dizziness, lightheadedness, seeing spots. All those are things that are telling you dial it back, because you could wind up with more anxiety, more stress, and more depression if you overreach regularly in training. So please do check in with you. Make sure you got your goals in order. You're giving yourself that challenge, and make sure you're staying hydrated. I'm looking for my water. I'm not seeing it. Give me 1 second. I will be right back. Oh, man. No water. All right, tap water will do today. That was a close one. You want to make sure you're drinking water, staying hydrated, checking in on you, and you're not overreaching. So let's talk about that hip mobility drill. You can use this at any given level, especially as you get older, making sure to keep those hips open, keep that rotation nice and buttery smooth. And the better you get that hip rotation, the more powerful those roundhouses will be, the more whip you can put into those kicks. So this technique that we're talking about is you're going to need some sort of item to put your foot up on, elevate that foot. You're going to put that foot out in front of you from your stance, right? You're just going to extend that front foot out, place it on that object, and then you're going to go up on the ball of your foot, just like we do for that roundhouse kick. Once you're on the ball of the foot, you want to try and maintain balance and just practice rotating that hip, turning the foot over, right? And as you turn the foot over, you're rotating on the ball of that rear foot as well, and you're keeping your focus and that upper torso facing your opponent. So this is really going to help open up that hip and get that hip rotation down. Then roll it back nice and slow, turning again on the ball of the foot, back to your balance position. Practice your balance here, practice that calf muscle activation. stability, building calf strength in here as well. Keep that heel slightly off the ground on your planted foot and continue to roll that hip over, turning the foot all the way over, right? And rolling that hip over, but keeping your torso facing that opponent, right? This is going to slowly open up that hip and help with that hip rotation. So do a couple of these on something short, something low, and then go ahead and switch it up. Switch legs, pop yourself into southpaw position, place that front leg up on an item, right? I'm going to raise up on the ball of the rear foot, and then again, roll through the hip, but keep your gaze fixed on that opponent, right? Keep your head focused that way, and if you can, keep the shoulders pointed that way as well as much as they go. Roll through, and then roll back. Roll through, and roll back. You're practicing balance here. You're also opening up that hip and working on that hip rotation, so it'll be easier and easier to get that momentum and that snap and that power in there. You can add power to what you've already got, and you only get stronger every day. The more you practice, the more consistent you stay, the more dedicated you stay. So keep making that progress. Shout out to, Shoney Boy said, nice man. Heck yeah. So secrets, right? Also, there's a really cool Muay Thai torture device that will get your kicks higher and higher. And speaking of which, if you're using Bob out there, you can do the same drill with Bob. Just toss that kick up, right? Once you're here, once you've got the flexibility to the point where you can get that leg up high. I'm working with Bob at his shortest setting, and I'm feeling the stretch. I'm feeling that pull in the body. So from here, again, we're going to go up on the ball of foot, and we're going to roll those hips over, turning on the ball of that rear foot, turning the lead foot over, but keeping the shoulders pointed at Bob, and then we're rolling back, and we're working on balance. Nice and slow rotation there. Boom, we're upright. Roll, turn those hips. Practice turning that hip through. Boom, 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 boom. And then back. Nice and slow. Bring it down, swap to the other side. Toss that foot up there, and then up on the ball of the opposite foot, right? Foot straight, and then roll through that hip as you turn that rear foot over and bring it back. That's the exercise. That'll open up those hips, and like I said, you can use Bob to slowly increase the height on that kick and open those hips up for different level roundhouse kicks. It's going to add snap, it's going to add whip to them. So, all right, that's the end of that hip mobility drill. Now today's class will run through standard session, 3 rounds, 3 minutes each, 1 minute breaks to catch your breath, drink some water. We'll have some 80s fighting spirit coming through our sweet retro boombox, and we're going to get in some work. So go ahead and pop in to your Muay Thai stance. Get ready. Make sure you're hydrated. We're going to get these tunes going. Hopefully the boombox will cooperate today.
Harry.
Let's see. There we go. Hopefully we'll maintain volume. It's been acting up. Let's see how it goes. Pop into your Muay Thai stance. Guard high by the brow line. Chin tucked. Visualize that opponent in front of you. Remember to assign it the word of the thing you want to work on. Depression or anxiety. Make it a depression dummy, an anxiety dummy, and we're going to chop it down. We're going to knock those lies out that it tries to sell us. Starting with stepping into the jab cross, small step on the lead foot, extending that jab, rotate right on through to the cross. Again, head stays centered, chin stays tucked, we're nice and balanced, and back to stance. Step for the jab, rotate for cross, back to stance. Inhaling through the nose, exhaling out the mouth. Rotate through, keep it nice and balanced. Really focus balance here. Focus keeping those feet evenly spaced, shifting the weight forwards and backwards. And roll the hands to maintain that balance, maintain that flow. And step forwards, jab, cross, back to stance. We're going to start adding in the first roundhouse kick. And we're going to start with a nice low roundhouse. Doesn't require a whole lot of flexibility. I'm going to step out on that lead foot off that center line, opening up the hip, right? Turn that foot, and then we're going to toss this hip over, toss it over, whoosh, all the way around, rotating on the ball of that front foot. And I can feel it much smoother now just from that brief exercise I did with Bob. Hopefully you're feeling the same thing out there. Let's do it again. Back to stance. step off that lead line, boom, opening up the hip, turning that front foot out. We're planting the ball of the foot, and then we're gonna rotate on the ball of that foot by tossing this hip over. So hips coming over, think of it round out that hip, roundhouse, right? Whoosh, toss that hip over and back to stance. Guard stays high on the opposite hand. Some people can use this method to increase power where they reach for kind of like a holster, boom, and then they chop that hand up. You don't have to worry about that right now. That's a more advanced technique. Guard high for now. Step off that line with the front foot, opening up the hip. Reach out with the opposite hand across the face of that opponent. And let's toss a nice low roundhouse, boom, with that hand chop in there. Chopping the hand on the same side of the leg that's firing. Back to stance. Guard nice and high. Remember, keep that stance open, hips open, feet slightly angled. You're on your tracks. You think about those railroad tracks under your feet, under the feet of the opponent. Step forwards into jab cross. Back to stance and lead leg roundhouse. Low roundhouse kick from that rear leg. Step off the line with the lead, opening up the hip. Reach across the face, and now we're going to chop the hand down in a scissoring motion. Scissoring across that leg, oof, as we toss it through their calf. Chopping the calves off that depression dummy. Let's take them out. Step forward into jab cross. Whoos, whoos. Exhaling, and low roundhouse from the rear leg. Step off the line. Whoosh, toss that leg through. Making sure to turn the hip. Remember, turn that hip over as you rotate through. That's going to give us the right angle. One more off the line. Whoosh, and back to stance. And to round one. Catch your breath, drink some water. Disco Casino. Thanks for being here. Appreciate your support. We got 50 seconds. We're going to pop into the next session. We're going to start talking about that lead roundhouse kick, which is going to require us to switch the feet before we toss it. And there's a lot of other ways to toss it. You can toss that lead roundhouse by shifting gears and just stepping off the line with the rear foot. But we're going to work on a switch today because it's very similar to the way we fire the trail roundhouse. So it should be easier to pick up. May or may not add in the teeps. We'll see how it goes. Let's see how the session flows together. And here we go. 17 seconds. Visualize that opponent. Remember what you're here for. Every single day we take a step forwards. We make ourselves a little bit stronger as depression gets a little bit weaker. So let's put up a fight. Let's give it our best because we deserve what we give out here. Right? We deserve the best if we're giving it our best. So let's do it. Step off the line for that lead roundhouse first. Step off the line with the lead foot. It's a rear roundhouse, but lead foot steps off the line, opening up the hip, turning that foot out, weights on the ball of the foot, and we're going to toss it around. Whoosh, nice and low. Back to stance, step in for the jab cross. Whoosh, whoosh. Turning through the body, turning through the hips, sending those fists forwards, making sure to land on those large two knuckles, and then back to stance. Now we're going to work on that opposite roundhouse kick, and in order to fire this one, we're going to have to swap the feet very quickly. So give it a little, you can put a little hop in there, or you can just try and slide the feet. Once you get used to it, you can kind of slide the feet into that opposite position. So for now, if you need to, just to start out, give it a hop, swap those feet, and when you're landing, step that lead foot. Was your rear foot, is now your lead foot. Step that lead foot off the line, just like we do with the rear one, landing on the ball of the foot, and we're going to chop through, rotating that rear hip. Again, we're turning that hip over. Think about as the hand chops, the hip turns, and we're sending that leg right through that low calf meat of our enemy. From here, whoosh, boom, and back to stance in southpaw. Switch it back to orthodox for a moment. Step in for the jab cross, whoosh, whoosh. Step off the line for a rear roundhouse kick here. Off that line, open the hip, boom, rear roundhouse to the calf meat. Then swap the feet, and we're going to work that opposite leg roundhouse. Boom, feet swap off the line with that front one and toss it. Boom, turning that hip over. Get that nice round in the roundhouse going. Step in for the jab cross. Whoosh, whoosh. You can pick up that intensity if you need a challenge. You can pick up the volume, add more punches. Keep the guard high, keep the chin tucked. Think about all the little areas of improvement you can make. There's unlimited room for growth, unlimited room for progress. Whoosh, whoosh, as we sharpen those skills. Keep those punches going. And now let's link the end of the cross with the beginning of our roundhouse kick to make a nice buttery smooth transition here. Step in for the jab, rotate for the cross. From here, turn that front foot out, opening up the hip, setting you up for that nice roundhouse kick. We're going to chop the arm right from here, right after that point of contact, in order to toss that hip over. Whoosh, boom. Back to stance. You can bring it up higher if you want to go for body kicks, or you can leave it low. Flexibility is low right now. Go for the leg. That's totally fine. Over time, you can hit the head. Don't go right for the head if you're just starting out. Step in for the jab cross. Whoosh, whoosh. Back to stance. Swap the feet for the roundhouse on that lead side. Swap the feet off the line. Toss it. Boom. And back to stance. Guard high. Now we're going to toss the jab cross, boom, boom, from the point of contact. Turn that front foot out and chop the hand for a nice round. Oof. Nice transition into that roundhouse kick there. 58 seconds left. Catch your breath, drink some water, and we're going to hit round 3. We'll bring those knees up and do some checks. That should make it easier to toss that leg for the roundhouse. We'll leave the team for another lesson. That'll be fine. Round 3 coming up. Shout out to Reed Rickman. Appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your support. We're doing roundhouse kicks today, practicing a couple different lead, rear, and the transition from the jab cross right into a nice buttery smooth roundhouse kick. Mike said it's difficult to show from the side view. Again, absolutely. So from the side view, if we're looking at our opponent, we're going to reach across, stepping off that lead line with the lead foot. And let me give you a little better angle here so you can see the feet. We're opening up the hip by stepping off that line with the lead foot, turning that lead foot out. We're going to reach across the face of that opponent, and then we're going to scissor this arm down as we roll that hip over, turning that hip through. Aim for the leg if you don't have the flexibility yet. Just toss a nice low leg kick back to stance. Our weight's got to be on the ball of that front foot so that we can rotate easily. If your toes are getting stuck, curl that front toe up just a little bit. That's a pro tip in there. That'll help you rotation come through nice and easy. Let's practice that. We're back in. Square up with that visualized opponent. Square hips, square shoulders. We're watching that target. Step in for the jab cross. Jab cross. From here, we're going to step that front foot off the line, right, opening up that hip, and we're going to roll that hip over and toss that foot around. Boom, toss that foot around as we chop the arm and we rotate through back to stance. Square up, hit him with the 1-2, whoos, whoos. Exhale on those strikes, 1-2, whoos, whoos. Square hips, square shoulders, feet slightly angled out, knees bent, chin tucked, step in for the 1-2. We're going to switch feet and we're going to toss that roundhouse from this lead side here. Swap the feet, step off the line with the front one, and we're going to toss that rear hip over. Whoosh, and I'm not going to knock over all my stuff. That was a close one. Toss that lead hip over and follow through all the way around, rotating on the ball of that back foot. Step in for the 1-2. Whoosh, whoosh. Right down that center line. Chin tuck. 1-2. Whoosh, whoosh. And chop that arm after the 2. Send that rear roundhouse right in there. Step for the 1. Rotate for the 2. On that rotation, you can open up the hip at the same time. Once we're landing that punch, we're already in prime position to toss that kick right on through. Remember, use that hip rotation drill to open up those hips and make it nice and easy to toss these roundhouses. Back to stance. Keep your pace going. Keep that flow going. Step in for the 1-2. Whoosh, whoosh. Back to stance. We're going to swap the feet for the rear kick. Let me give myself room. Swap the feet. Boom. Toss. Toss that kick, making sure to roll that hip as you go. Square up. Chin tucked. Step in for the 1-2. 1-2. Open up that hip and toss the round. Whoosh. Back to stance. Guard high. Chin tucked. Step for the 1-2. 1-2. Lead. We're going to swap the feet and toss that lead leg. Boom. It's now the rear leg. Open up the hip. Toss it. Boom. All the way around. Back to stance. Guard high on the opposite side. Step in for the 1-2. Visualize that opponent. Land with those large 2 knuckles. Boom. Boom. Right in the face of that opponent. Open up the hip. Toss that rear roundhouse. All the way through. Keep the knees a little bit bent. That's an important part of it too. Don't go straight leg. Almost never. You don't want to almost never go straight leg because it will cut down on that mobility and your balance. Step for the 1-2. Pop, pop. Rear roundhouse. Go. Lead roundhouse. Swap the feet. Whoosh. Around back to stance. Guard high. Step for the 1-2. And rear roundhouse kick. Whoosh. Back to stance, and we are done with our roundhouse lesson. I hope that you guys enjoyed that. I hope you found room to grow with those techniques. Remember to give yourself a challenge, and it doesn't have to be, that challenge doesn't have to be intensity. It can be complexity as well. Give yourself new rooms to learn, new room to grow on your road forwards. And the more you practice, the more powerful you will become, the more easily you'll be able to execute these moves, and the more self-defense you'll learn to protect yourself out there in the world. But not only that, not only self-defense and physical fitness, but mental resilience. The more we know, the more capable we are, the more secure we are, the easier we can handle that stress. I'm normally checking in on comments before we go. I'm normally left leg, left arm when fighting. Left arm, left leg. So here's right, here's left. You're normally left arm, left leg. When we're chopping that arm, whichever leg you want to toss, you want to use the arm on the same side as a counterbalance and scissor that arm through. So whether you're throwing the lead leg, you're chopping through with that lead arm, it's always the arm on the same side as the leg. That's going to help you drive that hip right through there and work that rotation. Shawnee said, do the other stance. I love it. Yeah, all the stances. Practice all the stances. The more you know, the better, more capable you'll be in any given situation. That being said, I hope you guys are enjoying the class. I hope you're growing from it. If you are, please do spread the word. Let other people know. We'll be doing this for free every single day for the rest of my life. And until next time, I'll catch you same exact time, same exact channel, same exact life. Exact man out.